Welcome everyone. My name is Kim Knight, and I am the co-founder here at the Village. So take your time to enter the space. We will begin shortly. If you have access to the chat, feel free to let us know where you're joining from today. In just a moment, we will begin. So today we are joined by the lovely Liz Coucean, who is here joining us. We're super excited for this event, which is powered by the yoga. And so we're going to be diving into a yoga and journaling session. For the moment, we do recommend that you remain muted. You can have access to the chat if that's available to you. And I see everyone slowly coming into the room. So welcome once again. And so I'm going to pass it over to our lovely co-host today, Liz. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How's everyone doing? Thank you so much for joining us on this lovely Sunday evening. And I'm really looking forward to this practice and sharing this movement and journaling session with you. And yeah, I'm just really happy to be here. Feel free to pop anything in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and say hi, you're welcome to do that too. All right. Should we go ahead and get started, Kim?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. So, yeah, I'm going to let people just sort of trickle in. I love seeing that we've got like Quebec, Toronto. I'm based in Toronto, Gatineau, Halifax. So, yeah, welcome everybody. Um, Labrador, Vancouver. Awesome. All right. So, really, the theme today is healing the heart, which it seems like kind of really big, right? And not necessarily overwhelming in a way, but we've all had our own experiences with heartache, maybe with heartbreak, with different things that have happened in our lives, and so this class today is to really, number one, like build like explore a more somatic experience with our heart space, which I really feel is the kind of like apex where everything sort of spreads out from our heart. So in yoga we have the chakra system, and the heart chakra is the center point, right in the middle. We have higher and the lower chakras. So when the heart is feeling out of balance, when the heart is aching, when we're going through different experiences in our lives, our tendency is to kind of create these walls around our heart, right? In order to like protect it. It's also like our space of vulnerability. So if we've been vulnerable and then had any sort of like impact to the heart, our tendency is to really kind of like close it up. But the nature of the heart space is to really um, flourish and feel like kind of like open, and the heart wants to like and yearns to really sort of like blossom as this flower. When I think of my heart space, there's always this desire, despite whatever has happened, to really just want to like shine open. And I was actually joking with a friend recently that I'm like, it's like that Care Bear effect where nothing feels better than when you're really like open hearted and in that loving space. And my mantra is really that we can create that within ourselves without trying to control our outer world or circumstances, or wait for that right relationship or this to happen or that to happen in order to feel love. But that we can actually generate that within ourselves. But one of the first ways that we can do that is just kind of developing this relationship with this space in our bodies. And we're going to do that through some yoga right now. So Just know that every shape, everything that we're moving into is completely optional and it's an invitation. So just take what resonates, leave the rest. This class is also going to be recorded. So if you're feeling like you just kind of want to sit back and watch, you can do that too. And you can practice these movements on your own. So before I move to the mat, I just want to make sure everyone is good. If anyone has anything to share before I move into our movement practice, all you're going to need is a yoga mat today and potentially a blanket. We are going to be on our knees a little bit. So if you do have sensitive knees, just feel free to grab a blanket right now and you can place it on your mat for a little extra support. And I'm going to go ahead and head over to my mat. I'm just going to tilt my camera down a bit so you can see. I have the brown mat, so it kind of blends into my floor here. Okay, so I think everyone should be able to see that. I'm just going to bring this over to watch the time. Alrighty, so when you're ready, we're going to meet on our mats if you're not there already. And I'm just going to invite you to take a nice, comfortable seated position. I'm on my shins. You can sit cross-legged. Some of you, again, might choose to do this in a chair, and that's totally fine too. So once you get here, I just want to give us a moment to land. So you can feel free to just start to tune into my voice. You can take your gaze away from the screen for now and maybe soften your gaze or close the eyes. And we're going to draw our awareness inward. So once we close the eyes, we kind of can tune out everything that's happening around us and just really feel into sensation here. Let's take a nice big breath in through the nose. And then you're going to breathe out through the mouth. Let's do that again 2 more times. Take a big breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. 1 more time, just like that, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Good, just letting go of your day, your week, your weekend. Just allow yourself to ground here. And just start to observe sensation in the body. And feel free to set an intention for this practice. So this can be the intention to heal the heart, or you may have your own, you may have a theme or word, affirmation you're working with. So just call that in and plant it like a seed right in the center of the heart. Beautiful. Good, and then when you're ready, you can slowly start to blink your eyes open. Awesome, and we're gonna come to a tabletop right now. So coming to hands and knees, and this is where you wanna bring your blanket if you happen to have sensitive knees. And what you're gonna do is place your knees around hip width distance apart and your hands about shoulder width distance apart. Good, okay, my cat's joining the yoga practice here. So tops of the feet on the mat here if you like. And what I'm going to invite you to do now is just start to melt the front of the heart down towards the mat. This is a little bit different than a cat-cow if you've done yoga before. So melt the front of the heart down and draw the shoulder blades together. And then as you exhale, spread the shoulder blades apart and start to curve the spine towards the sky and feel as if you're shining the back of the heart up towards the sky here. And we're doing this to draw awareness to the heart space and the spine. And we're going back and forth with our breath. So really important here to synchronize your movement with breath. Go at your own pace. And just open up. So what happens in the heart space is if we're feeling closed off, or we're creating like these walls that I mentioned earlier. And what we're doing here is we're physically sort of inviting space. We're inviting circulation. We're inviting movement to start to happen around the heart. And you might even feel this in the vertebra behind the heart, the mid and upper back. Good. So just go back and forth a few more times. And again, if you're feeling yourself getting distracted, if you're feeling yourself wandering into the mind, my invitation here is to close the eyes and feel what's happening inside the body. The lungs, the heart, the spine, the ribs, the shoulders. Move into the torso. Good. We're going to go up one more time. And then we're just going to come down to a neutral spine. Big breath in here. And a big breath out. Good. And now you're going to walk the hands a little further forward. And just walk the the knees slightly back. And then you're going to start to melt the heart down towards the mat. We're coming into a puppy dog here. So we're staying nice and low to the ground today because that also helps us ground. Good. So this looks a little different than a child's pose. This is one of my favorite shapes to come into when I'm feeling tight in the upper back. So remembering that the chest and the shoulders are all connected to the heart space. Good. And I'm just taking very gentle kind of pulses here. I'm breathing in and kind of opening up a little bit, and then as I exhale, I'm allowing the heart to melt down. Good. We're going to stay here for 3 more breaths. Beautiful. All right, and then when you're ready, slowly make your way up, and then you're going to walk your hands towards your knees. You can walk your knees a little further in, and then we're going to slowly make our way up here. So again, if the knees are sensitive, just feel free to come sit in a chair here. You can also do this seated in a chair because we're going to move into, again, the upper back. But if you are on your mat, just tuck your tailbone down, draw your low belly in and up. And this is, we haven't done a whole yoga practice, so you're not going to go into your deepest back bend here, but I am going to invite you to open the chest up as much as feels comfortable in this moment, and just bring your hands down, either behind you or on your hips, and you can interlace the fingers and just gently shine the chest open. Big breath in here, and a big breath out. Good. So I'm already feeling that heat building, and we haven't done a whole lot. So we can see how much, just through this little bit, how much energy is stored in the heart space. Beautiful. And when you're ready, you're going to breathe in, slowly make your way back to a neutral spine, and then dip those hips down towards the heels. And now we're coming into a child's pose. So just bow down, allow the heart to ground here. Good. 3 breaths in and 3 breaths out. Okay, and then when you're ready, making your way back up to a tabletop. And what you're going to do from here is you're going to bring your right knee towards the side of your mat and extend your left leg out long. Okay? Placing the sole of the left foot on the mat, and then slowly you're going to come up. Good. So from here, we're going to lift the arms up, interlace the fingers, and reach the palms towards the sky. Big breath in here. And then you're going to breathe out, drop the left arm down, and then reach the right arm up and over. But as you do this, think of slightly revolving the heart toward the sky again. Gate pose, big breath in, big breath out, just opening all up through the right side. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, you're going to lower the right hand down, glide the left hand along the left thigh, place the right hand down on the mat and lift the left arm up and over. Again, you might kind of feel like you want to dip the torso down towards the mat. Invitation to try and open up here. Good. Beautiful. Maybe you're looking toward your left hand. Nice. All right, then when you're ready, we're going to sweep the hands down in front of us, bend the left knee beside the right, and then we're going to switch sides. Right foot comes down, glide those hands up, breathe in, lift those arms up, reach the palms toward the sky, and then when you're ready, exhale, drop that right hand down, reach the left arm up and over. Think of revolving the chest open. Good. Beautiful. Inhale, come up, lower the left hand down, reach the right arm up and over. Good, and again, think of revolving the heart up and open. You're probably going to feel that through the whole right side of the hip. Good. Big breath in here. Big breath out. Nice. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, lower the right hand down. You're going to bend the right knee, bring it beside the left. You're back in a tabletop, maybe this on the side of your mat like me, or maybe you're facing the mat. Either way is fine. And then from here, you're just going to slowly lean onto the right or left hip. Good. And then we're going to come into a cross-legged position here. Okay, if that feels okay, or just come into your chair if this is uncomfortable for you for any reason. Good. And then we're just going to slow things down here. So just taking a big breath in and a big breath out. Just seeing how all of that felt. We started seated, we're seated again, just noticing what has opened, what has shifted. And maybe you're just able to be more aware of the heart space now. Both through the front, the back, the side. Good. Now you're going to take your right hand over the heart and just bring your left hand on the belly, above the belly button. Close the eyes here and just see if you can start to feel your heart beating. And maybe just asking the heart, how can you serve it in this moment? Maybe that's taking a deeper breath. Maybe that's offering some compassion. And then you're going to take your left hand now over the right hand. So both hands are over the heart. And just allow the heart to feel supported by your hands here. Notice if this offers a sensation of perhaps grounding, feeling held and supported. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, take a big breath in, big breath out through the mouth. Then you can slowly start to blink the eyes open if they were closed. And that is our movement practice. So feel free to watch the replay. Those were a few of the ways that I really love to just connect back to my core, my heart center, and hopefully we all feel perhaps a little more open and a little more aware of our bodies. So I'm going to come and head back up there now to guide you through this journaling session. Awesome. So I'd love to know how that was for everybody. So feel free to take yourself off mute, or you can type in the chat and just let me know how that landed for you.
This was incredible.
Yeah?
That would be my yes.
Awesome. I'm trying to find you if you, I don't know camera. Okay. What's your name?
My name is Amanda.
Amanda.
Can I
Hi.
see if my camera, the settings are on? Yeah.
There. Okay.
Sorry, it's very hot here, so I just have like this little top going on.
I love it. I love it. Awesome. So, yeah, tell me a bit about your experience. I'd love to hear.
Well, I was not at that moment when we came back to seated position. The difference between that and the beginning was stark. Like I didn't realize, I felt the first time that I was breathing when we started, I felt like when I was breathing in, my my bones were like stuck. You know what I mean? So I could almost, there wasn't any sound, but I could almost hear like and it was a little uncomfortable. And after, by the end, when I breathed again, there was so much space. And I found it incredible that just because that was just a few minutes, and just that, I don't know if everybody else felt that, but thank you, because that was, just thank you. That was beautiful.
Good. I love to hear it. It's amazing what, just a few minutes of opening this space, especially if we're used to being kind of hunched over our desks. And I call, like, our culture is like, the position is heart closure, right? Like we're looking at our phones, we're looking down, our spines are literally like creating this shell over our hearts kind of thing. And so sometimes it's like opening up like this, it feels kind of awkward at first, but then we're like, no, and you can feel that you can probably even breathe a little bit better, because it's not only, you're right, it's the bones, but it's like the fascia around our muscles and our tissues that sort of get like habitually kind of tight or closed in like this. And so just opening up, it can feel vulnerable, but also very liberating. So thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing that and for being here. Just let me read here. Thanks, Liz. Feeling great. I love the ending with both hands on the heart. Yeah, such a grounding and comforting feeling, especially when we're feeling anxious. A lot of us probably feel that either in our abdomen, but I know for me, all my anxiety, like I feel it right in the heart. And so just placing my hands over my heart, going into child's pose as we did, or sometimes like I'll lay flat on my floor because it's just so grounding for the front of my body. And this whole area, which just can feel very kind of fluttery sometimes. So that little gentle pressure is one of those things to definitely keep in your toolkit. So awesome, calm and relaxed. Okay, great. And so that is really a good way to kind of segue into this next journaling part, because, you know, again, these questions, you know, they might be a little bit, they might activate something within us. And so, you know, coming back to, you know, maybe placing your hand over your heart if you're feeling that one of the journal prompts is maybe making you feel a certain way. So, yeah, just coming back to that whenever you need, or hopping right back into a child's pose. So I am just going to share my screen and we will get started. So grab a pen and your journal. Good. And then again, just connect to your breath as we're moving through this, so we can do this with as present minds as possible. And I will start just as we're kind of moving into a space of allowing ourselves to be more vulnerable. These questions that I've come up with today, I think, are a really beautiful way to sort of explore what's happening on sort of like a deeper level with our relationship with ourselves, and specifically the ways that we might kind of close, create certain walls or boundaries around our heart. I think it's today is actually Father's Day, and you know, in my own healing journey, I've gone through a lot of process. My father passed away when I was 5 years old, and I've done a lot of healing work, and I've, you know, dealt with certain like blocks around my heart through going through that grieving process and losing him at a very young age. So I think it's quite this event was actually scheduled for another day, and I thought it was very interesting. I didn't even know when it was rescheduled. I didn't realize at the time that it was going to be on Father's Day. So just know that I am, you know, going through this with you. Every question here is a question that like I've asked myself in the past. These are things that I've worked through and have helped me. And so I'm just inviting us all, myself as well, to be vulnerable, and just know that this is a safe space for you to feel open and share whatever it is that you need. All right, so we're going to start with this first question, and I will be offering some context to every question here, and just feel free again to type in the chat or unmute yourself and let me know if you need clarity on anything. So this first journal prompt is: keeping self-compassion in mind, is there anything I want to change most about myself? Maybe there's not, maybe there is, but I'll give you a moment here to reflect on that. Okay. And so sometimes this takes a little more thought, and sometimes right away you're just kind of like, I wish I was this. I wish I was more of this, or I was less of this, or you know, something like that. So if anyone feels like sharing, you can feel free to unmute yourself. And just kind of noticing what sensations come up as you answer this question. Is there any discomfort, any sort of tension around where you are right now and something that you might be feeling that you want to change?
I can share. I can break the ice. So what I did write, well, one, I'll be honest that at first I didn't want to answer it, But there is that part about self-compassion. So, and what I would like to change is to learn or be more patient, learn to be kind and gentle with my heart. But then I realized that what I really want to do is to meet my heart and get to know it and learn to love it. I've come from a very headspace family, and we've all gone through some trauma. So I'm hoping that I'll take some time to do that.
Good, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, that really kind of coming out of the mind and dropping down into the body, it can feel a little bit scary, especially if we're moving through different traumatic events, and all of that is stored in the heart space. So there is a kind of peeling of layers sometimes that happens as we're kind of moving into this space. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to go ahead and move to our next slide. Whoop. Can I accept and love these parts that I desire to change? And so these questions are related because oftentimes we think, if I change this about myself, I will get X, Y, Z. I will, I'll feel better if I change this. I'll have this if I change this. Things will, somehow improve in my life. Or am I, maybe not, able to experience everything I want because I still feel that I have to change certain things about myself. So this, moving into this second question, again, place your hand over your heart and kind of feel into it. Can I accept and love these parts that I desire to change? So maybe if that is criticism, maybe I criticize myself a lot. And can I love and accept that part of me that is an inner critic? And you'd think, like, why would you want to do that? But the more that we accept all different aspects of ourselves, maybe my inner critic is trying to keep me that if, if I can critique myself first, it'll save me from being criticized by someone else, which might cause me pain. That's just an example. So just take a moment here, again, kind of let that question land. Can I accept and love myself that desire to change? Do it, and then feel free to write your reflection. All right. Okay, is anyone feeling called to share anything in the chat or unmute yourself?
I can go.
Yeah.
So the part of me that I wanted to change was my inability to give voice to my boundaries, or knowing what my boundaries are and advocating for myself. And I think trying to accept or love these parts of me is kind of understanding and having compassion for myself, that the times when I wasn't able to do that, it was out of fear and a form of self-preservation in times when I felt uncomfortable and that I couldn't speak up for myself. So just, I think, connecting it back to like what caused that, and having a little bit more self-compassion there would help me to accept and love those parts of me.
Mm-hmm. That's so beautiful. Thank you, Chanel, for sharing that. And yeah, absolutely. I can completely resonate with that. So thank you so much. Is anyone else?
I could go ahead if it's okay.
Yeah.
I guess the part of me I want to change would be less to react less, be more calm when there's adversity. Probably because I'm always defending myself. I'm always closing myself when I don't want to be hurt. And that sort of like closes me to probably, maybe meeting people, more people, because I got hurt many times. I'm a widow. It's like 3-4 years now. And my husband passed away. He was too young, but anyways, I'm over it. I accept all of that. It's just that I'm not open to, I don't know, seeing anybody. And I mean, I do have family, I do have my children, but sometimes, you'd want to have maybe a little bit of a romantic relation, and I'm too closed still for that. So I need to fix that a little bit.
Yeah, thank you so much for
And I
sharing.
accept it as well. I accept it because it's keeping me still strong, but I just need to adjust a little bit, adjust it a little bit. So that's.
Yeah, yeah. And it's such a process, especially when we're moving through loss and when we're moving through grief. I know for me, it's been many years of sort of like unpeeling layers, and there's been times where I've like been very open and like chosen to be very vulnerable, and then other times where it just felt safer to be closed, and really kind of like honoring that time in our lives where it's like, this is what is best for me right now, even though I do want to open things up, and just know that like it can happen. Like I always I'm a very visual person, and I always like I look at the heart space as like this beautiful kind of jewel, and there's all these beautiful like sheaths and layers to them, and sometimes like we peel layers off and it can feel like very sensitive and kind of very vulnerable, but then we sort of move through that and we kind of like see, more light or just more kind of space. So that alone, just knowing that like you're acknowledging that that's there, is like the beginning of kind of um an invitation to melt and to soften, and just kind of like doing these practices can really kind of like invite that over time, but also just honoring that part of you that just kind of wants to hold right now, and to kind of create that layer of that safety that you might need. So thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Liz.
Thank you. All right. Does anyone else want to share before moving to our next question? Okay. So now, before we go ahead and answer this question, I do want to say that the next three series of questions, they're inspired by the book called The Mind Body Code by Mario Martinez, and the link will be shared to this book at the end of the chat for anyone who is interested. But this was like a really profound teaching to me. So what the book talks about is that all of us, everybody, we all have experienced in one way or another 3 core wounds. And so all other kind of wounds or hurts actually stem from these 3 core wounds, which I will share with you now. So the first core wound we have is the wound of abandonment. So that is the wound of being left, right? And we can experience that That was a big one for me. When my father passed away at a young age, I definitely experienced that wound of abandonment. And so that can kind of manifest in our experience of this feeling of being left, right? And there can be a lot of grief around that. The second core wound is the wound of betrayal. Okay, and so we might have experienced betrayal at some point in our lives. We trusted someone, and maybe that trust was broken, and that can present itself, in many different ways. But there is that wound of betrayal, and the third core wound is the wound of shame. So maybe we were expressing ourselves and told like that's too much, or you shouldn't be like that. That wound of like really maybe that feeling embarrassed. And when I think of shame, it's very closed off. Like my body, like when I think of shame, I want to like curl up and go hide in a corner. It's very like it causes us to really want to close in. And we might have experienced all three of these wounds: abandonment, betrayal, and shame. One might be more predominant in your life, or, one might take a back seat, and then you might be kind of working through another, depending on, what is happening in your life. So the book talks about that each of these three core wounds they have antidotes. There's medicine to each of these wounds. So my invitation here is to this first journal prompt is in response to the wound of abandonment. So the antidote, the medicine, the healing field to the wound of abandonment is commitment to self. So oftentimes when we have an abandonment wound, we're going to seek outside for someone to commit, right? Or not leave. That could be in the form of a relationship, that could be in the form of a friendship, what have you. And so really we want to go inwards to ourselves, because if we have an abandonment wound, what will happen until we heal it is we might self-abandon. Okay, so self-abandonment, are you abandoning your own needs? And so this question asks you, what does self-commitment look like to me? In what ways can I commit to myself? So I'll give you a minute for that. Okay. And these are a lot. These are like, I know they're, the questions hold a lot of weight to them. So just know that as a prompt, it's meant just to kind of wet your palate a little bit to these concepts, and just feel free to come back to them at any time. Does anyone want to share their thoughts on this, or if you have any questions about what I was just talking about?
I'd be, oh, sorry, go Jess. I had a question, not a offering.
Oh, are you sure? Okay. I was thinking more of like listening to your intuition. There's so many times I've gone into situations where my intuition is like, this seems very familiar. And then I'll go through it. And then at the end, I'm just like so upset with myself, because now I'm dealing with like heartbreak or whatever, other negative consequences came out of that. So I think for me, one of my intentions this year was just to listen to the intuition and not to like doubt it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I love that you brought up intuition, because I think that's one of the key ways that we often self-abandon, is by not listening to our intuition, right? Is we kind of maybe kind of abandon ourselves in that moment in order to, yeah, totally, definitely relate. And I hope, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Self commitment can be like a commitment to listening to your intuition, or even just taking a little more time before making decisions to kind of tune in and really see how things feel in your body. And yeah, so that was it. That's a really big thing, is that commitment to ourselves invites that commitment from those around us, but it really starts inward. So thank you so much for sharing that, Jesse. Does anyone else want to chime in? I know, Amanda, you said you had a question.
I think it might get answered by everyone else. I just in case there wasn't any answers, I was going to ask you for some examples because I'm having trouble with this one. That's all. It was more that examples.
For me, hi Liz. For me, I wrote down something I struggle with actually is just being consistent and disciplined when it comes to the self-care, because like I don't meditate as often as I know that I should. It doesn't happen every day. And then there are days where, you know, things like you don't have time to make time for yourself until you're climbing into bed, and then you realize like, oh wow, okay. Like I got to get up tomorrow and I don't even feel like I can process for anything. So just realizing it's important to set the time and to be committed to myself the same way I'm committed to my employer or to my child or to my partner, is to clock in for myself too.
I love that. Hi, Cherie. Lovely to see you. Yes, that's amazing. Yeah, that's so true, right? Often we're like more committed to those around us than we are to ourselves. And that might, you know, initially it might feel uncomfortable. It might feel selfish. And people around us might be like, what? They're not used to it necessarily. If we're not used to putting ourselves first sometimes, or committing to ourselves. So thank you so much for sharing that. All right. Okay, so we're going to move into the next one. How can I honor my needs, boundaries, and desires? So, the antidote, the healing field, the medicine for the core wound of shame is honoring yourself, right? So I know I talked about shame is that kind of wanting to hide. For me, other people might experience it differently, but that shame is just really, yeah, that feeling of just kind of wanting to kind of hide in a corner. And so that antidote is really honoring yourself, right? So, how can you honor yourself? How can you honor your needs? How can you honor your boundaries? How could you honor your desires? And when I feel into the word honor, there's this like, you know, you might have just even seen like all of a sudden, like my shoulders I was like, shame. And then as soon as they said honor, like shoulders open up, pride, like this sense of, you know, being proud of yourself, right? And standing tall and standing for like what's important to you. So I feel that honor is this, you know, it really has this vibrancy of like regal, right? That like standing tall and standing proud. So, how can I honor my needs, boundaries, and desires? All right, does anyone have anything they want to share on that one? down. And just know too that these questions might come. Cherie, did you want to share?
Um, yeah, I guess I can. But I wrote for honoring myself, I wrote like forgiving yourself, especially like when dealing with shame, it does, like you said, make your shoulders slump. You don't feel like you're worthy and you're holding on to something that, you know, isn't benefiting you. It's maybe hard, but just like you said, like being proud of yourself and in terms of honoring like boundaries. And I feel like sometimes we say yes when we want to say no. So saying no and when you need to and taking time for yourself to like recharge and, you know, stay on top of like we all have like social meters. And I feel like, sorry. And I feel like even with like COVID, it's like it's so exhausting sometimes that, but we kind of brush it off because it's all about now being outside, outside, outside since we've been inside for so long. But just really like listening to what you need and exploring yourself and your desires without judging yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Leave
Uh,
us. Mm-hmm.
I guess, oops, I guess Amanda will talk. I'll let Amanda talk is first of all. Oh, Amanda, okay.
No, please go ahead. I've already spoken so many times. Please go ahead.
Okay. I guess working hard is also something to honor your needs, boundaries, and desires. When I say work hard, is to continue to never give up until you achieve your goals. Never listen to anybody around you. Always trust yourself and but your heart only. And I have to think every time that you are able, you're capable to achieve, want to honor your needs. I want to take an example, just like you want to lose weight and you feel like you want to lose weight and like people around to says that you are too, it's so hard for you, you will never achieve it. It's like you don't want, you're very scared to honor your needs. You're very scared to achieve to achieve what you want to do, so that you'll be you'll be honor, you have the honor to what you need for what you for and your desires, and even more your boundaries. So the only thing you can do is to never listen to anyone around you. Always follow your heart, listen to your heart, follow your intuition. Always think that you are very capable and continue to work hard so that you can achieve your dreams, so that you can be, that means, and you can be honor so you can honor your needs and boundaries and desires. So
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I love these shares because it's like, again, that energy of like that standing tall, like tapping into our inner, like queenliness or kingliness, right? Like this sense of pride and honor and standing tall for what you believe in. And the thing is with these three core wounds is we feel it all in the heart. Like this really is this space where all of those wounds are felt. And so as we move into self-honoring, as we move into self-commitment, and the third one is coming up next, we really that is that antidote to like not betraying ourselves, listening to our intuition, like you said, Shanti, and yeah, just following, like setting those boundaries when you need. And I'm reading here, Krista. Sometimes it's hard to know what I need. It can be helpful for me to think of what my childhood self needed and visualize her, and then see a little more what I need and desire. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Krista. Yeah, that's amazing. Sometimes when we're in our head so much, we are kind of like, we lose that connection to our heart, and we're kind of, this is really our gut, which is below our heart. That is where like our gut instinct comes in, our intuition. So some people feel intuition more in the heart or more kind of in their core center, their solar plexus. And so that heart is that middle space between the mind and between those really like kind of more instinctual kind of knowings from the first three chakras, which is our sense of like power, security, safety, right? And creation. So thank you so much for sharing that, Shanti. That's, you know, it's one thing when they're like follow your heart, and it's like if our hearts are closed, it's hard, right, to know in the moment what we need. So I think Krista, really you said something wonderful here, focusing on what your childhood self needed, because yeah, most often it's those needs in childhood, they carry right on into adulthood, right? So you know, and these wounds are often, they're seated in childhood, right? You might have had that abandonment wound in childhood, and we're working through those wounds now in adulthood through the shame wound, through the abandonment wound. So I'm gonna let us come to the very last question. We had a few more, but I just want to make sure I get that third one in. The healing field, the medicine for the wound of betrayal is loyalty to self. And we've actually kind of touched on this. I know Jessie said something before about following our intuition. That kind of leads into sometimes self-abandonment and self-betrayal might look kind of similar, but it's a little more nuanced. Betrayal is that the abandonment is that feeling of being left. Betrayal is more of that feeling of that trust being broken. So I will let you all have a minute to think about this. How can I be loyal to myself? What does this look like? And if you don't know the answer, just allow the question to land. Just see how that feels in the body, and just kind of trust your intuition here that this is something that might kind of unravel for you as the weeks or months go on. So yeah, no pressure to kind of feel that you have to even write at this moment. So awesome. Does anyone have any thoughts or reflections on that?
I'm not sure if this would be relevant, but how could I be loyal to myself would be more like be proud of who you are. I mean, understand that we cannot be perfect human beings, but know that where we come from, and that our intentions are always good. And I don't know, it's just yeah, be proud of yourself, but not in a way that is harmful to others at all, ever. Be loyal to yourself, like, you know, trust in yourself and be proud of yourself. Like you said, walk with, you know, your chin up, I guess. I'm not sure that would be, what would that look like? I think that would, to me, that's what it would look like, I think.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Giovanna, for sharing that. And it's true, and it's going to be different for all of us, right? Because we all relate to these words in slightly different ways. So loyalty is going to land differently in my body than it might land in someone else's. So I absolutely really love that perspective. And again, that loyalty has this sense of you've got your own back. That's what it really kind of like, for me, that's how it feels. Like, yeah, I've got my own back. Like I'm not going to let myself down, kind of thing. Or what ways can I feel that, and like cultivating that kind of faith in myself, and that is for me like an antidote to self-doubt as well. So we can kind of see how these, again, the core wounds, they kind of branch out, right? They kind of branch out into maybe doubt or, you know, other different things. So They're really kind of like, they're big, but they're seeds that, you know, you can kind of explore as well. So thank you so much, Giovanna, for sharing that. Alrighty, see, an hour goes by so quickly. There are some additional questions in the book. I saw Kim just put in the chat the PDF of these journal prompts. So please do download them if you haven't already, so that you can see the other questions that are in there. You can explore these on your own time. The book, I think Kim will drop that in the chat as well, so that you can feel free to, even if you don't want to get the book, you can Google search like the 3 core wounds, and there's a lot of blog posts and different people writing articles and their own perspectives on healing these core wounds. So I really hope that kind of like this is, you know, a springboard for you to explore this. And again, a lot of these are concepts, right? Kind of coming back into the mind. So that invitation with yoga, or before you're doing, even reading a book, like sometimes it's good to do some movement first, so that you can kind of still stay grounded in your body, and not, you know, not just like solely in your head and intellectualizing everything. Just allow yourself to feel into these words and these concepts. So, thank you so much. I wish we could be here for another hour, but feel free to carry on with these questions. And yeah, visit the Village. Feel free to send me a message after. I'm on Instagram. You can find me online. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and for sharing space, and for being vulnerable. And I hope that this has been nourishing for you. Kim, did you want to come back on or give any closing remarks?
Yes,
Close out?
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Liz, for guiding us through this heart healing workshop, exercise, movement, and journaling. I want to take the time to also thank everyone that joined us in this room. As we mentioned earlier, the session was recorded, so we will be sending you an email with the video, as well as the journal prompts, and even the book reference that Liz has shared. If you are new to the Village, we are a wellness club for women of color, and we are so happy to have been able to host such an event with the support of Be Yoga. So I've dropped it in the chat. We are doing a giveaway where you can enter to win a $100 gift card with Be Yoga. You simply have to share any takeaways that you've got from this, how you're feeling. You can tag us in your stories on Instagram, tag us at The Village, and also tag Be Yoga. We're going to be sharing Liz information as well, so you could continue to follow her on her journey as well. And as we say here at The Village, this is your village and you deserve to be well. So wishing you all much ease, much joy, and much rest for the endurance of your week. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everybody. Bye. Thank you so much. And we will see you soon. Bye.